Zoli, listen, what are you working on these days?
Honestly, most of what I'm working on is has to do with social media videos for the clients.
Go, really? And why are you so caught up with social media video?
I mean, it seems like an easy to make content that is engaging. You can make it quite fast, quite easy, budget wise as well. So yeah, it's just a good go to option.
Yeah, exactly. So, people, listen, social media video rocks for B2B. Yes, and not just for Kim Kardashian and whatever, but for B2B, for software, for technology. Social media video really knocks it out of the park. And today we're going to tell you how we do it and how we advise you to do it and how not to do it. Because as Zoli said, so much of our work right now, because it's working so well, is focused on helping our clients create videos for
Right,
LinkedIn specifically.
right.
Yeah. So Zoli, what sort of videos are we talking about here? Is that the one where we need like a 15-person crew and helicopters and drones and whatnot? Or are we talking about something else?
No, honestly, that's the fun part about it is that you don't really have to be a professional to make it. A lot of the times, these companies that we're working with, they think that you have to have like really good lighting, you have to have the best equipment for it, as you said, a crew behind you. But honestly, if you have a good enough camera phone as well, or anything with your laptop, really, and you can make something work with the sound as well at the same
Yeah.
time, just two people can make a pretty good working video in like 15 to 30 minutes.
Zoli, why do you think it is that video works so well right now with LinkedIn?
I mean, it's just the sort of medium that is easy to connect to. It's something that is more interactive, and the other thing that is good about it is that you can repurpose the content that you create video wise. So, like you create something, you create a 15-minute long video, but then you can write a blog post about it. Then you can create an article around the subject. So it's really just a fun and easy way to create new sort of material.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing I love about it is that it is so darn successful. I mean,
Yeah.
when we first started playing and testing this social media videos specifically made for the purpose of thought leadership and generating leads, I was blown away. I mean, just so you know, the very same week that we started deploying these videos, for my first video, we already had one lead. And I remember so clearly because I was very, very surprised that about 100 views into that video and maybe 7 likes, I get a LinkedIn message or
Yeah.
no, even better, a phone call, Somebody tracked down my number and called me up and said, hey, what you're talking about, which was, by the way, the ABM process. That's like episode 1 or 2 of this podcast, like how we get clients from selecting target accounts and doing all the research
Right.
all the way to setting up demand generation. So super simple video. I was sitting right here in my bedroom, right in front of my laptop with the laptop camera. I didn't even have lighting, nothing fancy. And again, 100 views in, I get a phone call from a lead who, okay, we turned out not to do business, but still it was a lead. And this light bulb like totally shot off. It's like, ooh, this thing is working.
Yeah, and what's really good about it as well, I think, is that there's really a large variety of what you can do with it. So it's not just about getting new clients or getting new deals with clients. It's also about, for example, employer branding. So, like, I think the first time that I saw anything about Clear was really just a video that I found online on LinkedIn. So, like, it's just so great because you can repurpose the stuff and you can use it for so many different goals.
True, true, true. Yeah. So it really has an employer branding aspect as well, without being specifically targeted at employer branding. And we just talked about this with a client, and they're loving it. They're loving these videos. Okay, how do we make it work? What are some of the things that we've got to keep in mind? What is it that you tell clients when planning out these videos and when shooting these videos? So, do you have a little process or some sort of a guide that'll help our listeners and viewers
Yeah.
figure out how to do video the right way?
I think it goes without saying that with any parts of life, whatever you're doing, may it be a sport or any sort of hobby that you're doing, consistency is always key. And I know this is a cliche line. I know it's something that you keep hearing, but I think people tend to give a lot more to the talent aspect. So they tend to account a lot more to people being more talented in something. And honestly, if you keep up with something, if you're being committed, and if you keep doing it, you can get to a really high level even without being the most talented person in that sort of subject.
Yeah, exactly. So commitment and consistency. And often when you start out something, be it LinkedIn or LinkedIn with video content, what happens first is what I usually call like the march through Death Valley, where you're just going and going, and it's like a desert because there is very little feedback. Your reach is not expanding. You're not getting what you think you should be getting, which for most people is likes and comments. And we'll talk about that later, that what you're really shooting for, because we are sales oriented people here at Clear. So we're not shooting for reach and likes and comments. We're shooting for like target account engagement and then leads from social media video. Yeah, so that's what we're shooting at. And for a while, it doesn't come. So sometimes you'll have some early success, like, I had some early success with, with the very first video, but that's not usually the case. I can talk about the second success that our company had, which was just about a month or two after getting this lead. And it was specifically a client reaching out. I mean, a prospect, or not even a prospect. So out of the blue came a company with the perfect profile for our company, Clear, and they reached out to us based on what they saw us on LinkedIn, through LinkedIn, and bam, they're a client, and we're happy. So that's how it works. It's really hard to believe at first, and because you're used to big numbers in marketing and big numbers in social media, and people tend to think that the only way social media can work for them is if they have humongous numbers, 50,000 followers or whatever. But no. So even when we got the client, I had very little engagement and very little audience on these videos. So like maybe 10 engagements and a reach of 200 or 300 people per video, very tiny. But still, because I was doing other things while doing content and video, like reaching out to the right people and connecting with the right people and commenting on people's posts for the right people, I somehow got in front of them, and bam, a client for our company was just emerged just like that.
Yeah, I think you can get really self-conscious about the whole process. I mean, people tend to think about it as, okay, how can I make it perfect? Obviously, it's a good thing if you learn from others, if you learn from other profiles, other people that are, let's say, thought leaders in a certain subject, or even just the way of how to create a video. It's a good thing if you can learn from other people, but at the same time, it's a good thing to shoot for a professional sort of way of doing it, but to be perfect and to be able to do it just the best way as you can is something that is, I think, less important. What you have to keep in mind is that if you're creating something that is interesting, the topic is interesting to your target audience, if you're creating something that is intriguing, something that is relevant to them, then that's good enough. Your point is not to create, as you said, a lot of likes, a huge viewership. Your point is to create content, and you can really even try it out with your social circle. You can try out your very first videos with them and just see how they react.
Exactly. And one thing is that where people tend to get caught up is the question of, but I have an accent, or I'm not made for stage, or I suck at video. And as you said, we talked about this earlier, and we're probably going to link back to the episode, that your prospects don't really care about you. They care about themselves and what you can do for them. So that's one thing. And that is the very reason why, for many of the thought leaders that we follow and that you probably follow as well, are people with accents, with foreigners, and people who were clearly not made for stage because their voice isn't as attractive as some actor's voice or actress's voice, but still they rock it and they kick ass because they show up consistently to serve and they deliver awesome content. And that's all you need. So you can be ugly and fat and have an accent and be a foreigner and have a bad hair day. But if you show up with great content that engages, that is relevant to your target audience, then you've got it.
Yeah, right on point with it. I mean, honestly, most of the times the point of these videos is just to create something that is important, that is relevant to your target audience. The point is really not to sell yourself. I mean, obviously, it's a great thing if you can speak well. It's a great thing if you have the features that will sell well. But you are besides of the content. So the main thing of the video should be the subject of the video, the content of the video. You can be the most good looking, the most well-trained voice actor.
Which I am. Yeah. Okay.
Which you are. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But if what you're putting out doesn't really make sense to your target audience, it doesn't really interest them, then they might check it out just because you're nice to look at, but they're not going to keep watching you. They're not going to hang around.
Yeah. Circling back to selling, what do you advise people? Do they use social media for selling or not so much? Or what's a healthy balance or sort of a guideline for selling through videos, being salesy?
I mean, really difficult to say, but I would say it's somewhere around 90 to 10%, or even maybe 80 to 20%. And the smaller percentage should be the salesy part. The point is that you create good enough content that after a while, they are trying to reach out to you, and they are the ones that actually find you with the intent to buy. What do you think? What is it that people or companies get wrong with about social media or really about video creation?
Yeah. Okay. This is sort of connected to video creation, but it's more of it's a more general question of how you show up on social media. But everybody tries to be a thought leader, and we talked about this previously. How we don't really like the term thought leadership. It's kind of ooey and gooey, and a lot of negative connotations are attached to it. A much better term is thought servant leadership or thought servantship, because when you're showing up on social media, you don't just want to be the smartass who has very smart thoughts and who people look up to. You also want to be the one who helps. And if you look at your brand narrative, you are always the guide who is serving a community or a client or a person. And you want to mimic this approach in your social media presence as well. So it's not enough to just be blasting out content one way. You have to actually show up and interact with people who need your help. And that's a key distinction. This isn't closely connected to video only. This is more generally a social media, a B2B social media thing. But I thought it's important to mention.
No, it definitely is. Yeah. And if you're talking about general things with regards to social media and content creation, I think it's also quite important to have a content plan, because it's much easier to map out what you will do and how you will build up your presence on any sort of social site. Obviously, this case, it's mostly LinkedIn.
Like there's a thing about the content plan. So a lot of people, when we tell them, okay, you need a content plan, what they do is that they open a calendar and then start brainstorming content ideas.
Right.
And, just write them. And let's say Tuesday, we want to talk about, what would be something nice? X. And then Friday, we want to have some sort of, HR related post and employer branding. And that's not the way we go about it, right? So what do you do with clients before creating a content plan?
I mean, before we create a content plan, it's easier to just decide what the aim is of the content. So what we are trying to achieve with the content, and then try to find some of the subjects that will be recurring that we can visit later on. And it doesn't have to be very specific. You don't have to have all of the content laid out. Like, as you said, we're going to post this on Tuesday, we're going to post this next Wednesday, but just have a sort of a schedule on when you want to post usually, and what sort of subjects you want to visit with your content.
Yeah. And we call this, we stole this term from Andrej Zinkovic, and he calls it the map of informational needs. And what we do there is map out our different buyer personas who are members of the buying committees. And we determine for each persona, according to a set of questions, like what sort of content they need to be consuming in order for us to buy, in order to have them buy. And then we start prioritizing, because obviously there's a lot of areas, a lot of personas, but you obviously need to narrow it down because you don't have infinite resources, and you're most likely going to start at the bottom of the funnel in a lot of cases. So unless you have like a really nicely laid out marketing asset list and a bunch of assets like content, you're probably going to need to create content that gets the buyers who are at the bottom of the funnel
right
first. And then as you've got that, you can move up the funnel. So you can create middle of the funnel content, which is for people who are already in the interested / consideration stage. And then you can also start to work on generating demand at the top of the funnel, which is for people who are not yet problem aware, let alone being solution aware. So it's the map of informational needs that we start with, and then we work our way across into the content calendar, actually, or the content plan.
Right. And basically, as you said, always aim for the low-hanging fruit at first.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can create like high-level plans, because as you said, it's good to segment your content plan for each of the buyer personas. But then sometimes if you have to, or if you see it fit, because there is just enough information on someone, you can even go down to a personal level. So if you see that someone has the sort of interests that are quite easy to target, like you have a lot of social media information on a certain person, then obviously you can create content that is just for them, just for that one person. Yeah.
Oh yes, and we love that in account-based place. So in account-based marketing, when it is often that in the activation phase, once we have warmed up the market and warmed up the account, we would create content that is specifically targeted at that specific account / lead, like person, like actual person. Yeah. And then what we would do is we would post it. We would make a 5-minute video. We would post it. And then we would either send them the video in a message saying, hey, thought you might find this relevant because we talked about this, or we would tag them in a comment, which you have to be careful with, by the way, because it can come across as pushy and spammy. But the point is that you're creating very, very targeted information and content.
Yeah, obviously the point is not to look like a stalker, so you don't want to be quite obvious about the stalking that you did on social media, but it's just good if you can somehow seamlessly work it into your offering.
Yeah. Okay, Zoli, let's try to wrap this up by listing some of the common pitfalls that we've seen, both in our operations as well as with the work with clients. So what are some things that we advise our dear audience to avoid or to look out for?
Honestly, we have mentioned, I would say I would pick out 2 that is quite common that we see often with our clients as well. And as you can see it online with other people, other companies as well. And we have touched on both of them actually. One is striving for perfection. As I said before, you really don't have to work it until you find it perfect. First of all, because you will never find it perfect. You're never going to create Nike's next big commercial. It's not the point really. The idea, as I said before, just to create unique content, create sort of unique content. Again, you don't have to invent new things, just a unique idea, a unique approach to content. Just to be relevant with the content. So it has to be something that is interesting for your target audience, and just to make it look good enough. I mean, obviously you don't want to put out something that looks like you spend 2 minutes with it, but at the same time, don't get caught up on nuances, on like leaving out a few comments, whatever. You just have to be consistent with it and create as often as you can.
Yes.
Exactly. And I would say the other.
Wait, let me add to this, Zoli, just for a second. That I know we haven't tested this, but quite a few people have, and one of them being Frank Kern. He made some major tests on testing like studio quality video versus handheld phone shot video in terms of getting both signups and in sales videos and in social media engagement. And in terms of getting results, especially engagement, the amateur videos outperform the professional videos. And it's easy to see why, because people
takes less time, easier
take less time, and people connect a lot more with video that is more human. And so on social media, the not so perfect stuff does much better than the perfectionist video, which is done by a crew, because that looks like an advertisement actually. And then people tune that out on social media more than anywhere.
Yeah, and honestly, even huge companies like Nike, they would use, besides their obviously professionally created, like high value commercials, they would use, they do use like easy to make it. They even try to make it look like it was made on a phone, just to make it, as you said, more relatable.
Yeah, exactly. It's a super interesting trend. I didn't know about this, but I do know that some big B2B brands such as Accenture, when they first started publishing videos, I couldn't believe they actually put that on YouTube. I mean, maybe it's there. I'm going to put it in the show notes. So like there might be some Accenture videos from, I don't know, like 2012, where the quality and the production and everything was just so off. The content was good, but it's an important thing that Accenture actually released this video, even though they are such a nitty-titty and tidy and very valuable brand. Very B2B, very, white suit or gray suit and tie and everything. And still they released very imperfect videos. Yeah. And one thing to keep in mind, Zoli, is this: you're going to spend like 4 months creating content. Then in 4 months, provided that what you say and write down and what you say on video is the same in both cases, then if you create 6 videos that are at 80% perfection, and you take the same content and you only create 2 videos in this time instead of 6, but up to like 95% perfection, which do you think is going to do better?
Obviously the first one, as I said.
Yeah, obviously the former, because you're getting your message out.
Yeah,
you're actually going to get the message out, and the point is that you get that relevant message out and you get people to consume it. And the point is not that it be perfect.
Yeah, another great example that just came to my mind is the way Dropbox got their first high investment. Like,
how did that happen?
They created like this really stupid, really low quality MVP video, but it was just enough. It was just good enough that they got their first large investment. I mean, I suggest that people Google it because it's just really funny the way the whole video looks like.
What was in the video? Give us a small spoiler.
It's the MVP for Dropbox, because obviously Dropbox couldn't just create an MVP over something that is so high friction, and so the whole value in it is how easy it's made. And the technical background behind it. So they just made this really easy, really stupid video. It was sort of an animation on how Dropbox works and why it's great to use Dropbox. They got like 70,000 pre-signups or something just based off of this really stupid animation.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, so that's one thing that a lot of people get wrong. And then the other thing is what we as well touched on before, is being overly promotional. So just trying to be really salesy, trying to push your product or whatever your service forward. Obviously, you're not going to know, as we said before, try to aim for the low-hanging fruits, try to aim for people at the bottom of the funnel with high intent, that who are actually looking for a sort of service or product that you are providing. But you always have to keep in mind that even those people don't really like to be pushed with salesy thing. It goes without saying that if like a salesperson, a sales rep calls you, most of the time you instantly want to hang up. And it's sort of the same process. If you see something on social media that is really salesy, that your brain just automatically blocks it out because you don't want to see it, because it just doesn't seem like it's going to be valuable for you.
You know what I see is that most people who are doing this wrong, they're not salesy on social media in the traditional sense. Like, they're not saying that go out and buy my stuff and here's my product. What they do instead is use LinkedIn as some PR newswire where they just posting links to their newest blog post or their conference appearance or whatever not, with like no context, no commentary, nothing. They're just posting links, and that's being promotional. And that's something that no social platform will tolerate, in the sense that it's not like they're going to ban you, but the algorithm is going to downplay everything that you do, and it's going to be hard to get back up. So you want to be active. It's okay to be promoting yourself, as you know, Zodi, you said, like an 80-20 proportion is appropriate, or maybe like every fifth post that you do is promotional, and that can be videos or written posts. But you really want to be serving 80% of the time.
Exactly, and like reposting is fine as well, but just repost in a way that that you actually add value to it. So like just blindly reposting stuff, as you said, the algorithm is not going to favor that. So if you repost something, repost it with your own twist on it, like add something to it so that it actually seems like you read the stuff, you watched it, whatever, and you have your own perspective on it. It's not just something that you blindly repost, because that's not going to work.
Exactly. Right. All right, folks. It was a lovely afternoon with you, Zoli. Thanks for coming, and thanks for making it. I think we're going to do this again next week or the following week. And everybody, just like and comment and share this thing, or subscribe to the podcast, and send us your questions. And we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.